And I'll kind of just share, just some perspective. I want to take you guys back 5-6 years now. And I was in a place where I was picking up my first investment property. And I'll share this idea that Tony Robbins often talks about. And I'll share it with a little bit of a twist. And he talks about how most people end up overestimate what they can do in 1 year, and they severely underestimate what they can do in a lifetime. And what I want to say is that I kind of want to shift that and say that most people, when it comes to investing, end up overestimating what they can do maybe in 1 year and underestimating what the power of real estate investing can do for you in a 5-year period. And I think that if I look at my journey over the last 5 years, I did not have any idea that real estate would have such a massive impact on my wealth building journey as it has. And what I want to say as well is that everybody can win in this game. It is not something where it's just one person wins the board game of Monopoly. And in real estate investing, it's so different. And so I'm so excited to have Calvin and Jenny share some wisdom and some of those others on here, because we have really a proven model where you can get invested and start building wealth through real estate just by knowing the basics, knowing the simple strategies that work time and time again. So thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for playing full out, Jenny and Calvin, and sharing your guys' wisdom. And I think we've got a good group we can start with, and then have some people trickle in as they come.
Yeah, Shoni, appreciate the introduction there and the kind of words. And, I just want to first off just say and honor every single one of you guys for even just spending this time, right? I'm sure there's a lot of things that we could be doing instead, hanging out with our kids, watching Netflix, doing something else. But you guys are here right now because, obviously you guys know and feel that this is important for you guys. I know all of you guys are high achieving real estate agents in general, but there's more to that, right? There's more to just being a high achieving real estate agent. It's also creating wealth, right? Not just wealth in terms of money, but wealth in terms of our time and energy that we can eventually give back to the people we love, right? So Jenny and I, we're excited to be able to hopefully drop some knowledge bombs on you guys and get you guys started, if not already, on some of your real estate journeys. Really quick introductions. I don't know, Jenny, I'll let you kind of kick it off with some quick intros for anyone who doesn't know who we are.
Hello. Knew Shoni, met him a few years ago now in Treasure Island in San Francisco, had a great talk with him in Costa Rica. So just some background on me. I came from a corporate tech background before working in real estate, and I was just grinding and trying to negotiate income to be like just increase my income or my base salary like $3,000 a year. And I was just like, I'm over this, and decided to pivot and get into real estate. But before that, I bought my first house hacked, and then bought an out-of-state investment property out in Huntsville, and decided to become a full-time real estate agent, and was awarded 30 under 30 for Realtors, National Association of Realtors magazine, and then sold 100, now close to 300 homes. So we have to update that. And we have built $20,000 of passive income with Calvin in the last 5.5 years. And we've been educating people all around the country on how to do the same. So buying single family, BRRRR, short-term rentals, and apartment complexes. And then I run a team in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I have a team of 11 women who are here helping people buy and house hack here, and also educating them on how to buy out of state too. So a lot of my team members are real estate investors themselves and not just real estate agents.
Yeah, so I actually met Jenny at our corporate job right after college, right? We got into tech at a company called Oracle, and met her. And really, I was always taught as a kid that was what success looks like, right? Is working a 9-to-5 at a corporate job and climb that corporate ladder until you're 65 and you have 2.5 kids, a white picket fence, and a golden retriever if you're lucky. And so that's what I always strived for was that. But when I got there, I felt unfulfilled. I felt like there was more to life than just having a title and kind of climbing the corporate ladder. And that's how we got into real estate. And like Jenny said, it was a journey for sure. It's not all sunshines and butterflies, absolutely not. But we learned a lot along the way. But I think what's really cool about real estate in general is that it's not just about the cash flow. I don't like having these presentations to talk about operating expenditures and gutters and toilets and stuff like that. But it's really about all the people that you meet along the way. right? Because you get to do this with the people that you love. You get to have fun with doing real estate and along the journey. And you know, at the end of the day, it's just a vehicle to be able to do the things that you want to do with who you want and to make an impact on others. Right. So that's, you know, as we go through the presentation of how to actually find real estate and invest in real estate, I want everyone to just remember that sentiment, because we forget why we're doing all this stuff. It gets lost in translation. So a real disclaimer real quick, right, for our legal team. This is for educational purposes only. So here's what we're going to learn in class today, right? So, you know, we're going to focus on really 7 steps that really anyone can do, right? These are the same 7 steps that we've done and taken to get over 150 doors, to generate more than 20K passive income a month, that we're going to share with you guys on a super high level so that you guys can implement it in your own lives as well. So what that is, one is, hey, understanding what your why is, right? You got to remember why we're doing all this stuff, why we're spending our Wednesday evenings talking with Calvin, Shoni, and Jenny about learning about real estate, right? We could be watching, you know, the newest episode of Tiger King, whatever, but we're here. Number 2 then is when we're learning about how do I create a criteria for myself? What's my buy box? Like there's so many ways that we go around real estate, whether it be self-storage or Airbnbs or multifamily or long-term rentals, right? And everyone's in a different place in their lives. Everyone has different investment criteria. Everyone has different goals and what they're trying to accomplish. So we're going to help you break down like, hey, what's best for me? Then third is, all right, now you have a criteria. Let's figure out what market best fits that. I know a lot of you guys are in Utah. Hey, Utah doesn't, you know, really supply the most cash flow, right? But if you're looking for cash flow, maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe it's Midwest, right? Maybe in San Francisco where we live, right? So we got to figure out what the best market is for what criteria and buy box that you guys have. And then once you have that market, let's build out your team, right? Just like a lot of investors work with you guys as agents, they're building out their team. Hey, I have an agent in Utah that I work with so that we can ensure that we can get the best deal that's best fit for me, right? So we're going to talk about what that team actually looks like beyond just your real estate agent and how you can build that. Then 5, we're going to analyze the deal, right? We're going to show you how to analyze the deal and what that looks like so that you guys can go do that your own. And then number 6 is negotiations and offers, which I'm sure you guys are really good at. But on the investment side of things, which is a totally different ballgame, I want to ensure that you guys have the right tools in your tool belt. And the last is evaluating and tracking the portfolio. So started out, step numero 1 is understanding what your why is, right? Why is this important for you? What is really your true potential in life? What's your purpose? What do you want to be remembered for? Because, you know, you're not going to be on your deathbed and say, man, I wish I bought 20 more units, right? Usually you're on your deathbed saying, hey, like, I wish I made a bigger impact. I wish I left this world in a better place. I wish I, you know, spent more time with my family, right? So understanding your reasoning of purpose of why you even want financial freedom, right? Is it generational wealth? Is it the freedom of time to go focus on giving back? Is it, you know, one of my students actually said this that really hit me hard was, you know, he's like, hey, I just want to be able, my son asked me the other day, he's like, hey, Dad, can you drive me to school? And he's like, I can't, like, I gotta go to work. Right. And he, and that was like, well, holy crap. Like that's what he's doing this for. Right. So that he can go ahead and say, yeah, absolutely, son. Happy to drive you to work or school. I don't have anything that I have to do that's more important than you. Right. So we all start at why, because this is just a vehicle, guys. A vehicle just like money, a vehicle just like stocks, a vehicle, you know, just like real estate, right? To be able to, you know, buy back your time and energy, do what you want to do. Right. I had a student that you know, her why, her purpose was not to get rich on real estate, but it was to help retire her mom. She had a single unemployed mom that raised her as a kid. And so she ended up buying a duplex in Atlanta, not to get rich, she knows it was a good investment, but to move her mom from this New York tiny apartment and move her into one side of the duplex. And the other tenant was paying off the whole mortgage, thus retiring her mom, right? And then giving her mom purpose. Now she's managing the property. Now she wants to expand out more in Atlanta and have her mom actually be her property manager on those properties, like giving her more purpose and being a vehicle to be able to spend time together as well. So that's really what I want to get home to you guys is, hey guys, it's not just about the dollars, the quote unquote mailbox money. It's not really mailbox money anymore. It's more like electronic money, but you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, so I want you guys to think about that for yourselves. Like, why are we here tonight? Why are we spending the time? And now, Jen, if you want to kind of give your example, because I always know this is very strong.
So for me, my big why has been my parents all along. So my parents are immigrants. They came out here in the 80s, in their early 20s, not knowing how to speak English. And they met here in America, but they were had me and my brother, and they worked very, very long days. They basically work in a sweatshop clothing factory. So working 14-hour days, 7 days a week. I remember I wouldn't even eat dinner until like 11:30 p.m. sometimes because my parents were just working, trying to put food on the table. And for them, like I see how much they've been working and want to really give back to them. So my big why through these past years, from building my real estate portfolio, building my real estate team, and helping clients, was to really help them be able to retire sooner and be able to see the world. And a couple of years ago, right before COVID, we actually, me, Calvin, and took my parents over to Barcelona and Madrid on an all expense paid trip, and all paid all the meals and paid for the Airbnbs and the flights. And my parents were able to be kids again, and just seeing them how happy they were, just drinking wine and celebrating and eating good food, because they couldn't really have to do that because when they were younger, they had to provide for their family and put food on the table as young kids, and they didn't really have a childhood. So my big why is my parents and being able to support them and ultimately have them move out. They're in New York right now, have them move out here to California. We bought this beautiful house with open island kitchen with a accessory dwelling unit in-law in the back where they can stay. They have their own kitchen, but be close in proximity to us and their future children. They were actually here last week for Lunar New Year for a whole week, and just being around them was so heartwarming. So I want to be able to provide them that they can fully retire and just be around their future children and their family long term and be out of the cold. I know you guys are out in many of you guys are out in Utah where it's cold out there, but for them it's like shoveling snow is not something I want to get them away from. So success is doing what you want to do, when you want, where you want, and with whom you want, as much as you want. So for me, it's just being able to spend time with my family.
And so we want to do a quick exercise for you guys, right? I want to get a couple shares of, why you are here today. What problem are you trying to solve in your life? And, I think it's just important to just hear from other people too, because, it's probably the same reasons that we are all doing this, and having a community of people that are like-minded is so big. So I'd love to see if there's any two people who want to share. And if not, I'm happy to call on people, but if anyone feels called, I'd love to hear, why are you interested in real estate? Why are you here today? And what problem are you trying to solve with it?
I can share. I think, obviously we all like the aspect of, what Jenny was describing as success, doing what you want, when you want, with whoever you want, however much you want, right? But I also feel, for me, why I'm in this specific call, I feel like you guys have just done what most people do over their lifetime in the span of 5 years. And there's obviously a very powerful lesson in just leveraging those relationships around you. And I think that that's very powerful, because a big part of what I'm wanting to do or wanting to achieve eventually is helping everybody else around me to escape that rut of, working their 9 to 5 or just being stuck in that constant paycheck to paycheck living. And so if there's a way that I could include other people in that, that would be 10 times better.
Yes, that's, and I really appreciate the share, man. And, I think from that perspective, a lot of it is about giving back, right? It's fulfillment in life. I mean, you can get a paycheck and, not be fulfilled. I mean, you hear it all the time where people make money and they're rich, but they're not happy, right?
Right.
They're just rich. They're not wealthy, right? There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. And kind of what you're saying is, I want to be able to have that so I can give back and be fulfilling. Because I can tell you this much, that feeling that you get when you are helping transform someone's life or impact someone else, there's no better feeling than that, right? No amount of money can counter that. So I really appreciate the share. Let's get one more.
I'll share. Besides doing this so my dog can have a better life, I, like, for an example, today I have a friend that I talked to a year ago, and she wanted to build a daycare, have a daycare, and she reached out, and we're now working on helping her fulfill that dream. And I find so much joy and satisfaction in being able to help other people get there. And I would just like to build my wealth faster so that I can help more people.
I love it. Definitely appreciate the shares, guys. So I wanted to share this as well. I mean, this is our journey, and Setson, I think you were probably in the office when we were presenting last month. And, I love sharing this because, it took us about 5-6 years to get where we're at right now. And a lot of it, you always see like the cool parts, right? Cool. He has a lot of units, he has a lot of cash flow, great, right? But you guys don't see a lot of the we'll call it the scars along the way and all of the lessons. And I always love starting with this for everyone that maybe wasn't there last month, because it shows that not everyone is invincible, right? It shows that, hey, we all make mistakes, but it's how you take those mistakes to move forward on it, right? So when we first started off, when I was still working my corporate 9 to 5, like, we're getting into real estate, right? We're looking at all these different asset classes. How can we buy back our time and energy, right? And we looked at stocks, with the cryptocurrency, with the real estate, and stocks that we just didn't love because we don't sit at the boardroom at Apple and make decisions, right? We had no control, so didn't love that. Cryptocurrency, to this day, I still don't know what a Dogecoin or a Shiba coin is, right? And if anyone does, please let me know. But because we didn't know that, we were out on that. And real estate was something that actually made sense to us, right? It's been around forever. I mean, people always need a place to live. Back in the day, lords and knights, lords were just landlords for the kings, right? So, it's been around and been tried and tested for a long, long time. It ain't going anywhere. So that's what we started to study, right? We, read the books, podcasts, surrounding ourselves with people that were doing it. And to be honest, and to be fully vulnerable with you guys, like, it was still something that I wasn't very confident in. I felt like I wasn't smart enough. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I had imposter syndrome, right? Even thinking about it, like it was a pipe dream. And so, we decided to maybe try to just take the easy way out, right? And we're like, hey, like, why don't we just give money to another investor? And in that way, we'll be real estate investors, right? And so that's what we did. Like, we had our life savings about 100K, and we gave that 100K to a flipper out here in San Francisco. Flip went fine, and we were supposed to collect a couple grand of a profit, but we went to the table to get our check. She was like, hey, actually, I don't have the money. I actually moved your money to a project in Reno, and without asking us, right? And $100,000, that was 6 years ago. We haven't seen the money since, and we haven't talked to her since. And we get hit up on Facebook all the time saying, hey, do you know this person? Because she owes us money. And we're always like, hey, take a number, right? And it was a really shitty situation to start with, right? Our first foray, if you will. And really, we could have taken it two ways, right? One was, man, like, this sucks. Real estate sucks. Like, there are a lot of sharks out here, and we never want to do this again. And we'll just work our 9 to 5 in tech and be safe and secure. Or two, which is what we ended up doing. And I'm so grateful sitting here 6 years later saying this, but we did say it was, man, this situation sucks, but what are the learning lessons here, right? What are the learning lessons that we never will make ever again? And that's what we took it as, right? It's perspective. Two people can take the same situation in two different ways. And we decided to take the latter. And so, we were able to rebound enough. And our first deal, my first deal was in Dallas. Jenny was in Huntsville, right? And we always have an argument about, who bought their first investment property first. I think I did, but whatever, we'll chalk it up to it was close. And so then we ended up, buying our own properties. And guess what? Made mistakes, right? I mean, I think my first deal in Dallas, at least, I didn't account for ACs breaking, right? I think Jenny didn't account for a huge ass tree in her front yard that fell on her roof. And guess what? The second deal is, we learned our lesson. We didn't make the same mistakes, but guess what? We made different ones. Third deal, didn't make the same mistakes, but we made different ones, right? And we were able to scale and get more confidence to do different kind of creative strategies like birds and flips and Airbnbs and apartment complexes, to a point now that we scaled our portfolio to about 161 doors as of last week. And I don't say this to say, hey, cool, look at us, like, we're awesome, like, we did a lot of stuff. But what I want to say to that is, back in the day, like, we were very, at least I could talk to myself, I was very cheap and focused, right? Back in 2016, when we first started out, I wanted to get to that passive income number. I wanted to get to the unit count number. That's all I was caring about, right? And what I want to say there is that, I think everyone's pipe dream, especially as you get more and more into real estate investing, is that, you want to get to like 10K a month of passive income. That's what everyone wants, 10K a month of passive income. And that's always a barometer. That's the goal that we set for ourselves too, right? And in 2019, we had hit that. And I thought that, everything would be awesome after that. Like, my life would be set. I'd be happy, all that stuff, right? I could retire, right? Do anything I wanted. And, when we got to that point, nothing happened at all. The same thing happened. The next day happened, no change. And so, what I found was that, and Stetson, to your point, Adriana, your point as well. It's like what we were missing was the impact of giving back, right? We were on our metaphorical first mountain where, we had hit some of the financial goals that we wanted, but that never gave us happiness, right? So that age-old saying of money buys you happiness is not true, right? And so, what we found out was, we needed to make an impact. We needed to help people out, right? And that's really what gave us joy. That's really what filled our cup. And, that's what we do now, right? That's why we do these webinars. That's why we have our coaching community, right? Is because that really does give us joy. And, Adrian, to your point too, it's, hey, helping my friend, start her business and accomplish her dreams. Like, you probably know, like, no better feeling in the world than that. So yeah, that's our journey. And again, like, I want to share you, it's 6 years. Maybe it's fast, maybe it's not, but man, there was a lot of mistakes along the way, right? So I want you guys to learn from that too. So we talked about our why, right? So for the next hour here, we're going to be talking about the criteria, the market, the team, the analysis, offers, and actually evaluating a portfolio. And, we're going to share as much as we can today. Some of you guys are going to take this information and roll up your sleeves and just absolutely run with it. It's going to make a huge impact in your business and your life. It's going to change your life. And some of you guys are going to want some additional support and help, right? So that you guys can pour gasoline on the fire and just go, go, go. So, don't worry, before we wrap up today, I promise that I'm going to share with you guys ways that you guys can get additional support from us, right? So, so that you guys can take that next step and really take some massive action. So step 2 then, let's define our criteria, right? So again, a criteria in our mind could be anything from a specific type of property, a location, a price point you're looking to acquire. I know, I think I'm talking to most agents here, right? I'm sure you guys have gotten, clients that have called you up and said, hey, Jake, I want to buy a really good deal. Pass me your best deal, right? And it's not very specific at all, right? But if someone came to you and said, hey, Jake, I want to buy in the Harriman area in a Class B neighborhood around, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, that can rent out for, $2,500 a month. Like, hey, you're going to know exactly what you're looking for, right? For that person, and say, hey, that's exactly for, Jake over there. Like, that's exactly what he wanted. So I always say that without a destination, a map is useless, right? So have a destination so that you can reverse engineer back and have focus about what you're actually aiming for. And as you go to the criteria, like, I want you guys to be specific. What type of property, where, what price point, how much renovation are you willing to do? And what type of returns are you seeking? Because if you don't ask, you're not going to get. People are blind looking for things for you. And you guys know this as agents as well. I think a big part of this too is building criteria is that everyone here is in a different place in their life, right? They have different goals. You guys are in different financial situations. You have different risk tolerances, and you have different lifestyles that you want to live. I had a student the other day that, hey, she lives in New York. She makes a really good W-2 income. And she's like, I don't want to do a lot of work. I don't want to have to manage like a contractor from 5,000 miles away. So, hey, for her, like, we were recommending, hey, let's go into Class B neighborhoods that are, 2000 vintage or newer, so that it's more turnkey for you. But then I had another student that, hey, he doesn't spend a lot of time on his W-2, right? And he has more time to spend. He wants to be more aggressive with his investment criteria. So we're having him do a bunch of these projects where, he's going to basically go out and manage contractors from abroad, right? And do it that way. So again, in understanding what your own lifestyle is, because at the end of the day, we want this to be fun, right? If it's not fun, it's not worth the time investment to do it. So make sure it's fun, make sure that's something up your scope in your lifestyle and can accomplish your goals as well. And so, as I look at an example here, 2 different people asking for an investment property. Hey, someone like Jack here might say, hey, I'm looking for a good deal in a good area. Okay, great. Like, that's very broad still. But someone like Aurora here, hey, I'm looking for a duplex with at least 2 bedrooms, 1 bath in the Windcrest neighborhood for up to $250K that I can close to the 1% rule, which is 2%, $2,000 a month in rent. Yeah, you're taking control of the situation, right? Of saying, hey, this is exactly what I want. And you should know exactly what I want, because that's going to get me to my goal, versus just letting things come to you, right? Take control of the situation, take control of your life. So define your criteria. That's the first way that you're going to be able to kind of take the next steps, is understanding what you're actually looking for and what best fits for you.
Can I double tap on that really quick? Something that's so important in that criteria phase is for you to get clear about, are you looking for cash flow or are you looking for appreciation? Because those are two different markets completely. Kind of like Calvin pointed out, here in Utah, it is not a cash flow heavy state because of the type of market. Whereas it is a massive wealth building state when it comes to appreciation, obviously over the last couple of years. And so you have to get clear about what is your focus, and it depends on the season of life where you're at. You might be more cash flow focused, or you might be more appreciation focused, where you're looking for the long-term play. And so just be mindful of that, as well as what kind of inventory do you need to support that financial goal that you personally have.
Yeah. And Tony, I'm glad you kind of added that too. And I want to piggyback off that too, is like, even just understanding what your goals are in the next 3 to 5 years, right? You understand your why, but in 3 to 5 years, like, where are you trying to be? Are you trying to be retired? Are you trying to supplement your income? Are you trying to pay for your kids' college tuition, right? So like, if you're, next 5 years, you want to get to 10K a month of passive income, well, how are you going to get there? Right? Is it going to be the cash flow appreciation that Shoni mentioned? And it could be a combination of both, but just understand like what that is. And I think a lot of that is too, is your risk tolerance on that, right? Because markets fluctuate up and down, right? So, how fast do I need to get there? You'll have to start planning that out. And then when you start to reverse engineer that, I always look at 5 years, right? 3 to 5 years is kind of the enough in the distance where it's a good goal, but it's not too far where you can't see. 10 years is too far, right? 10 years is like, wow, I don't even know what's going to happen in 10 years. Like, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning, kind of thing, right? So, 3 to 5 years is always a good barometer of like, all right, where do I want to be? Not only in my financial life, right, how much passive income, but with my family, with my friends, with my faith, with my philanthropy, with my fitness, right? All those stuff, matter in this, because again, like, it's not just about making money, it's about full fulfillment, right? So understand what that is, and then understand what kind of asset class and what kind of properties will get you to that the fastest in your time frame. All right, guys, step 3 then is all right, now I know my criteria, right? Hey, let's say I'm going for cash flow, then let's identify the target market, right? So this is really understanding, what area, right? What city, what zip code, and even what neighborhood you're trying to target. And the questions you should be asking myself is, 1, does this fit my criteria? And 2, is this market support what I need? Right. So like Joni mentioned, hey, cash flow, maybe not in Utah. Cash flow is definitely not in California, right? But maybe it is in the Midwest, maybe it's in Kansas City, or, some outside markets in Texas or something like that. It's important, right? And just even understanding, like, do I want to invest in primary markets like in LA or Austin, where, maybe it's high equity gain, or secondary markets like San Antonio that are right next to these big primary markets, or what we call tertiary markets, where they're even further down than the markets that are primary markets or secondary markets, right? With smaller populations around 30 to 40,000. So, just understanding what that looks like, to figure out what market is best fit for your goals and align for your criteria. And so what we look for in our markets, at least, is that we want to look for markets that have great economic drivers, right? Job growth, which equals the population growth. What companies and industries are moving there, and what types of jobs. I'll give you an example of this. We invest in San Antonio, Texas. Well, why do we do that? Well, 1, there's huge job growth there right now. Huge job growth. There's a lot of cybersecurity going there. There's the Air Force. There's 2 big Air Force bases there. They have obviously insurance there as well. They have oil there, of course. So there's huge population growth, and there's not a lot of supply there either, right? There's not a lot of supply of homes. Homes are going super, super fast right now. And the companies and industries that are there, it's so diverse, right? Where it's a place like Detroit back in 2008 and 09, they're very dependent on the automobile industry. And when that tanked, guess what? The whole economy tanked as well, right? So I love looking at cities that have multiple streams, multiple industries, that if one industry went down, then the other industries would still be able to pick up the slack, right? And have enough jobs, have enough wages for people to pay you rent. And this is the easiest way to find, this is the easiest part where you can have analysis paralysis for sure. And I wanted to share some resources too that you guys can use, right? So one resource that we can use is BEA, right? BEA is a government data site, right? And what this does is it can actually show you, what type of properties, or what type of markets have what kind of GDP, economic growth or not. So good commerce, right? That, you know, good commerce basically means that a lot of industry is happening there, and there's a lot of trading going on, a lot of money being flowing there. So, so what you can do is you can go on here, you can look at gross domestic product here, and then basically go in here and then look up by state, like where do you want to go and actually like see the data here, right? So data by MSA, right? You can see. So let's go to San Antonio, for example. Here's a place that we invest in, right? So all stats, boom, 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 all years. Cool. So you can see here that the economy here has just been solid, right? Over the last like couple of years, right? Even 08, 09, like maybe a little bit of dip here, right? But still like strong economic things right there, right? Where for the most part, you look at somewhere like Detroit, where in 08, 09, the economy tanked, they went down to like down here, right? But here you can see at least a little bit of stability in terms of, you know, they were at 85 to 83, which is not a crazy amount of commerce stopping. So what that shows is, it shows a stronger economy at that point. And it shows that, hey, like even in the downturn, even in the bad times, the economy is okay, right? Versus, you know, most cities you can look at, and obviously during the good times, you can always see this, right? You can always see that upward tick. In the last 10 years, every economy has been going up, right? Just because it has been with inflation and all that stuff. But in that 08, 09 period, yeah, I mean, things went down a lot, but you know, how bad did it get? And if it's a market for you guys that went down a lot, then that would scare me a little bit. Like, have they fixed and corrected the things that made that economy tank in the beginning? You know, Detroit, you know, they're doing better, right? They start to get more industry there, but it still scares me a lot because, you know, are they still dependent on cars? They are, right? But somewhere like San Antonio, they have enough around them, right? Where, hey, if cybersecurity goes down, for example, then they still have a huge Air Force military base. Two of them that can support the ransomware area. So that's one place that you look at. Another place that you can look at is bestplaces.net, right? So, you know, you can look in San Antonio here, right? And say, cool, let's look at, you know, what's going on here. Okay, cool. Well, 13.3% population growth. You see the median home income, the median home price, the unemployment rate, right? So it gives you just high level economic metrics here that you can plug in and say, all right, this is a good market and this is why, and this is a bad market and this is why. Right. And then some of the things that we'll look at, some metrics, right, are these three metrics, right? Rent to price ratio, right? That's basically just your annual rental income divided by your median price, right? So again, this is going to determine, hey, if this is a cash flow market or an appreciation market, right? Same with housing affordability. This is going to show, and what that is basically your median home price divided by the median annual income. Is this going to show is how affordable is my market right now? Are more people going to rent or are more people going to buy? So, and again, another metric then we'll look at is the percentage of renters there. Is there a nice, healthy amount of renters there? Because if I'm buying property there, I need to make sure I can rent it out. But everyone's buying, right? Then I can't rent out anything because, you know, everyone's, you know, can afford to buy a property. So, for example, in San Francisco, the housing affordability index is terrible because houses here are super expensive. And even though wages are higher, they're not high enough for actually buying a house. I had many people here in the Bay Area say, man, can I even afford to buy a house here? We're not. And so just look at that metric because that's going to determine, hey, is this more of a renter's market or more people buying here? So that's our target market. So now we've identified our target market based off of data, right? So to make data-driven decisions and off of the criteria that we have, right? So the criteria that we have, hey, I need to buy cash flowing assets. Okay, now I have the market to fit. Maybe it's San Antonio, maybe it's Kansas City, Missouri, whatever it is, right? And then once you have your market, then you need to build out your team, right? If you know me long enough, you know, this is something I want to get tattooed in my body, but Jenny won't let me. It's if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together, right? So why is this important? Well, it's important because real estate isn't tennis. It isn't golf. It's basketball, it's football, right? It's a team sport. You need the people around you to support your system, to be able to fill in the gaps that you may not have. Maybe it's something like local knowledge. Hey, I don't know anyone in San Antonio. The first time I actually ever went to San Antonio was after I bought my first property there, right? But I relied on the local knowledge of the agent there to really help me understand that market. And my property manager to fact check my agent on, hey, what are actual rents here? right? So having the boots on the ground, especially if you're doing out-of-state investing, is so important. You need those people to be your trusted people so that you can go out and actually execute on stuff, because the last thing you guys want to do is fly out to freaking Columbus, Ohio, every week and like check on your property. That would suck, right? So, be good at networking and be able to find the people that you can trust on the ground. So here's your wolf pack, guys, right? And I say wolf pack because you need them to go with you, right? So once you figure out obviously the market that fits your needs, you're gonna figure out the team that you can build around you, right? So I subscribe to the mindset of who, not how. So I want to spend the time that on the stuff that brings me energy and not gives away energy. So looking for deals and putting deals, that's what I love doing. But I don't love doing construction or operations, so outsource that. So you're going to have four main people, right, in different kind of buckets. Four main buckets, we'll call it, right, of people that you need to add to your team. Your first bucket is your deal finders. This could be an agent. This can be a wholesaler. This can be you actually doing direct to seller, right? Or even just networking, just network in general with other real estate investors. And, somehow you find deals that way. And I'll share a couple of examples on that. The second bucket is capital and lending, right? So do you have the right banking relationships? Do you have the right hard money lenders, right? If a situation needs that. Do you have the right private money lenders? That could be your friends, that could be your family, it could be your dentist, right? People that can that can give you money that you'll pay them an interest on. Do you have sellers, right? That you can maybe use them as a bank. So there's so many different ways that you can, skin the cat here of, finding the money to do a deal. I hate when people say, hey, I don't have the capital, I can't do a deal. Well, that's not true. You just don't know. We don't know. You don't know the tools in your tool belt to be able to structure a deal, to be able to make it work with what you do have. Bucket number 3 then is construction, right? This can be anyone from contractors to project managers to even inspectors, right? So just being able to have those contacts. How do I actually, use those contacts? What kind of contracts do I need to put in place to protect myself? Because contractors are not always the best business people. And how do I even build a scope of work, especially when I'm far away, right? These are all systems that you have to be able to have those contractors do exactly what you actually want. And then the fourth is operations, right? So you got to actually make sure that you operate your property after you close on it. So anyone from a property manager to an asset manager. Asset manager, this property manager is someone that does the day-to-day. He calls the plumber up. They get someone to schedule to go out there to fix it. An asset manager is someone that looks at the bottom line and says, hey, are we actually meeting the returns that we're supposed to meet? Right? An asset manager could be you right now in the beginning. In fact, it probably will be you for many, many years until you scale enough to actually have someone hired to actually be an asset manager for you. Do you have an attorney in the local market that can tell you and review contracts? I've probably spent so much time this last month talking to attorneys about contracts that we're putting under contract or closing on, because it does get sensitive with legal aspects of it. So do you have a trusted attorney that can review paperwork, review language, make sure it's always in your favor? And then CPAs, hey, as we go through real estate, and you guys are all real estate professionals here, hey, how do you guys save on taxes using real estate? Hell, Jenny and I, we haven't paid tax in the last 2 years. Why? Well, because we use real estate and we depreciate the crap out of that. And guess what? If you're able to not pay taxes, guess what? You can reinvest that back into what? Real estate, right? So then you have this, revolving door of, being able to use the tax code to your advantage. That things that, I knew growing up, I didn't know growing up because they never taught that to us in school, but we had to learn that. And now we want to give that back to everyone else as well, so that they can implement the same strategies. So those are your 4 key buckets there. Now I want to go over as well, and I'm sure you guys are really good at this as well, but just how to actually network and actually how to get people to like you. Because at the end of the day, like, you can have these 4 people, you can call them up as vendors, but really you want them to like you, because like, think about all you guys as agents. I'm sure you guys have clients that are at the top of your list that, hey, I want them to get a house, I can't wait to help them out, kind of thing. And then you have clients that, oh man, I got to talk to this person again, right? And so, I always subscribe to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because if you can get yourself up on that list, you're going to get better deals. You're going to get better rates. You're going to be able to work with them better, right? In general. So Jenny, I don't know if you want to go over, I guess, how to win friends, influence people, just the aspect, the art, I guess, if you will, of networking.
Yeah, this is a great book by Dale Carnegie, and Definitely love to revisit it at least every single year. So first thing is people love their own names, right, Christina? See, it's like, hey, people like to smile. And like when you hear your name, you're like, hey, good to see you, Christina. And then every single person has something to teach you. So just when you're meeting with someone, figure out, okay, what is that gift that they have? And what can they teach you? And just being open to receiving. People love sharing and all that, and just being a great listener versus always talking about yourself. People who always talk about themselves, they're probably one of the friends you want to avoid because it's just like, this person again. And just encourage them to share about their stories, make them feel important. And people love that. It's like, oh, tell me a little more about um, your background there, and it's like your home, and um Shoni and like Julie, like tell me a little more about like the house that you're building for your family. Like tell me about Ford, and like we'll dive into that, what Ford means. But just be authentic, be genuine curiosity, and just making them feel important. Even try this one day. It's like when you're like somewhere getting food and just saying like, what's your name? And say, oh great, thank you so much, Stetson, for this, and like how's your day going. They're probably going to give you some extra food and like extra servings at the buffet. And praise and appreciate people. This will overall lower their defenses and just give them thank you. And some of the things I love is just like figuring out like when you're working styles, like what is their love language? Do they like affirmations? Do they like gifts? Do they like quality time? Like, and just overall smile. And a smile is very infectious. And what we always say, it's smile and dial, making those calls, and people can hear that over the phone, even if they can't see you. So just overall smile through your mask and all that. People can see it in your eyes, and how genuine you are.
I want to hit on that because it's so important too, is like going back on the last slide. I think this is a mistake that I made. And so I just really want to hit home how important your team is. I jumped too quick into buying out of state properties. I bought 4 single family homes as a bundle in Birmingham, Alabama, and I did not do this route. I said, let's go ahead and lock these up and then figure things out down the road. And it was a nightmare. It was a decent return on my investment, but it was terrible for my time because I had to go through the eviction process with one of the tenants, and I didn't have a property manager in place. I didn't have my lawyer in place. I had to put those things together, but it sucked so much of my time. And so I think if nothing more, taking these 2 principles together, make sure you have your team, but then also how to win friends and influence people. There's this saying that your network determines your net worth. And so building relationships, the lawyer that I ended up picking up, because I built such great rapport, I didn't go to Alabama during this process, but he ended up doing a lot of stuff pro bono, did a lot of stuff for free just because of the relationship that I'd built with that person. Never met him. And so it's just so important to have that core 4 in place as you make those moves. And so building those relationships is super valuable.
Yeah, I love that, Shoni. And I think to add on to that too, it's, you build the relationships, but then you interview them too, right? Because, hey, I got great rapport with the crappiest property manager out there, right? But you want to have great rapport with the best property manager out there. And even having the systems to know, how do we even determine that? Like, what do I ask these people? And I know I always tell my students too, like even on, like, for example, on the property management side, since we're talking about them, it's like, a question I always have them ask is, hey, ask them, if a tenant calls you up in the middle of the night and says, hey, my toilet's broken, what do you guys say? Right? And 99% of property managers will say this: perfect, no worries. We have a plumber vendor that we call all the time, and we'll send them out there to be in the next hour. No problem, right? And actually, I think that's a C- answer, right? Why? It's because I don't want them to just send someone out there in the middle of the night, because you know how much a plumber costs in the middle of the night? They're expensive, like $600, right? What I want them to actually say is, hey, tenant, can you actually try doing these 3 things first before I call a plumber? Like, can you actually snake it? Can you actually reset the water? Can you, just wait a couple hours and see if it, dissipates? Because what that does and what that shows me is that, one is they're actually looking out for my bottom line. They're actually looking out for me, because the easy way out is for a property manager to say, oh yeah, we'll just call a plumber and the owner will pay for it. No worries. I don't want that. I know. I remember when I was a tenant, when I was in college, we would call the freaking property manager all the time, like, hey, our garbage hose isn't working. I remember this vividly one time. They sent someone over, a maintenance guy, and he came in. and he walked over to our sink and he picked up a glass. The glass was it was stuck in the garbage disposal. It was just perfectly in the sink. And man, we felt like idiots, right? But we didn't have to pay for anything, and the owner did. And I'm sure they were pissed off because they just paid for that guy to drive out all this time and pick up a cup out of a sink, right? So look out for your bottom line and find the people and ask the right questions to find people that, hey, are you guys looking out for my best interest in what I'm actually trying to accomplish, right? And to Johnny's point too, I mean, I think the forward way, such an easy way. I mean, there's introverts, there's extroverts, right? And you know, anytime I go into a networking conference or an event, right, like I'm always asking, if I ever feel lost, I just go revert back to the Ford method, right? And what the Ford method is just ask them about their family, ask them about their occupation, ask them about their recreation, ask them about their dreams, right? Because then you're getting deeper, right? You're getting in a deeper level of conversation with them versus, hey, the weather is great out here, great. Hey, cool. Yeah, it's pretty cold. Hey, stocks are going up and down, great. But really, you get to this, you start to get to know them better. You feel more connected with them. And then listen, right? Listen to their answers. And then you can repeat that back to them so that they know that you're being genuinely authentic with them. And, you know, I want people to know this. I want to know this about other people, because then you're able to help and understand, like, well, how can I help them in their lives? And my mindset on this is, you know, you never know where you're going to find the next deal. You never know who's going to give you that golden nugget, right? I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and the best piece of information I got from him was I was actually waiting in the men's room and in line. A guy was, you know, he basically just like, we're just chatting up, and he gave me this golden nugget of advice, right? And I was like, wow, like, I can't believe that, you know, I met someone in the bathroom who actually gave me the advice, not someone that was one of the speakers. And I always go into the mindset of give value without any expectation of return, right? Because when you do that, you're genuinely coming in with curiosity. You're genuinely going in with, I really do want to help you, right? And I want to give you this first case study that we're going to talk about tonight. Was we founded our first 12 unit, our first apartment complex by using this technique of Ford. Me and Jenny were at a conference in Oakland, not, you know, 4 years ago now. And, you know, we're waiting in between sessions, and, you know, we kind of start making weird, awkward eye contact with this other couple, right? And we're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should go talk to them, right? Kind of like at a bar when you're dating, like, oh, should I go talk to her, right? Same thing with a couple, like, hey, we're just go talk to them in network, right? So we go and talk with them, and we understand their Ford, right? I know it was they're good friends of ours now, but at the time we were just meeting them. He was from Brazil, she's from Berkeley. They met actually at Cal Berkeley. They were both running together. And they're both on the running team, and you know, he's writing a book, and so we just got to get to know them better, right? And in the next event, actually, we saw them again, and they're like, hey, let's go grab some lunch, and we had lunch with them, and you know, got to know them even deeper, knew about their kids, knew that he was a general contractor in Oakland, right? And we knew that he wanted to buy a jet one day, right? And again, no expectations of anything in return. We were just genuinely curious about them and their lives. And, you know, we had dinner with them again, maybe a couple months later, and, you know, their dreams were to scale, right? And some of their dreams were like, hey, we want to scale even bigger, right, than these 12 units. And I remember at the time, I was like, wow, 12 units is so much. That's crazy. I want to get to that one day. And they're like, yeah, we want to get bigger. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And we're like, and I remember this so vividly. We're at dinner, and Jenny's like, cool, we'll buy them.
Mm-hmm. And I always remember like believing in manifestation. Shoni actually bought me a manifestation candle, but it's like when you speak things to existence and visualize it and like, hey, we're going to be owning these units, because more than 10 was very scary for us at that time when we only had a couple under our belts. It's like, wow, 12 units, but I was just like, we'll buy it. Like this, like, and I would just keep saying it consistently, like, those will be our homes. Those will be our homes. And then eventually, like, they sold it to us one at a time, and we own all 12 now.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I can't even tell you how many times that we've been in a situation like this, and something like this happens, right? Where you're genuinely having a conversation with nothing in return. And all of a sudden, like, boom, there's a deal, or boom, there's a golden nugget. We have one of our students, one of my favorite stories is, you know, he had his loan declined the week before closing. So he was like, crap, I'm screwed. Like, I'm going to lose my EMD. I'm going to lose my appraisal money. I'm going to lose all the survey stuff and all my time. And he was freaking out. And I was like, hey man, why don't you just reach out to your network, your community, our community, right? And he did. And 48 hours, someone wired him $140K to close the deal. And I asked her after, I was like, hey, why did you wire him the money? And she was like, well, One, he's always there to congratulate me on anything. Second, he's always there to help as a resource, even if he doesn't know the answer. He always tries to connect me. And third, I just really like the guy. And I really wanted him to succeed, right? So you never know who's going to be that person. It could be someone on this call tonight. It could be on the box right below you, right? Like that could be the person that finds you the next deal or bails you out of a situation, right? So we always come in with this mindset of, in your team building, not only with your core four, but your network in general, you never know who's going to be that person that's going to find you that deal next. So as we go through this case study, I want to make sure that we review this so that you guys know, from soup to nuts, hey, how do we find this deal? How do we finance it? What are the numbers, right? So, this one came from the networking, right? It came from us just making weird awkward eye contact with another couple, right? And, this ended up being 12 units. The capital on this one, well, originally we went with Wells Fargo, we went with a big bank and got it financed that way. We actually refinanced this recently. And, we live in the Bay Area, much like Utah, it's very expensive. And we bought our primary here a couple of years ago. So our debt to income was pretty tight. And I worked with a regional local bank there that was able to be very flexible on what they counted as rental income for us. Yeah, so we were able to make it work where most other banks were rejecting me at that point. So, just being able to have the local contract, not just the bank that you guys use all your time for your transactions in Utah, but hey, if you guys are going to be buying out of state, hey, do I have a local bank out there that will be flexible with me? The construction on this, we had a local contractor on this one that helped us turn the units, right? To make them more modern like this, but I'll get into the construction side a little bit later. And then 4 is operations. Yeah, we had a property manager. And in the beginning of these, mistake that I learned here was I self-managed these puppies in the beginning. And oh my God, I wholly hope that no one has to ever do that. I don't recommend it, but if you guys need to learn by doing, hey, I'd try it out, but it's a big mistake, one of the biggest mistakes in my life. And, I think, to me, the breaking point was, when tenants just call you up and say, hey, Calvin, hey, the hallway smells like dog. Can you send someone over there at like 8 p.m. at night? And it's like, I should not be taking these calls. My time per hour worth is way more than this. So found a property manager and, they've crushed it since then, right? They've been able to outsource all of that to them. And, one thing that I love about our property manager now there is that, we have a strategy. I have a strategy with them and they implement it. They just take action, right? I am the asset manager at that point and they're the property manager, right? And that way I can tell them, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to make sure that we get these units up to market by renovating the units and we can turn them, right? Because right now we're not getting enough, we're not getting close to market rent. Right? And one of my favorite stories on this is that on these properties, at least, we did an evaluation with my property manager. And what we found was when we took over control was the previous owners are friends, like they were paying so much for water and they didn't even realize it. And so we did that evaluation with my property manager and I said, hey, what we need to do is actually, we need to install low flow toilets. And I always love telling this story because I never thought I'd be so passionate about toilets in my life. But 1980s toilets, they do like 3 gallons per flush. That's a lot of freaking water per flush. And these new toilets, they're like 0.5 gallons a flush, right? So by installing these $100 toilets, we were able to lower our operating expenditures by so much and increase our cash by thousands of dollars a month. We also installed LED lights because our electricity was high too, and that lowered a lot of costs on the electricity. So you never think about these things until you do it, right? And having a good property manager there to implement and execute the plan too is huge. So the numbers on this one, we bought, in total for 12 units, we bought it for $548K, with 25% down, which is about $137K. Renovation costs, about $60K for paint and floors. It's worth about $960K now. So our equity gain was about $412 on that. And our net monthly cash was $2,800 a month for 17% cash on cash return. So again, guys, like, real estate is great because you can make so much money so fast, but by not really doing much. And yeah, I was doing much in the beginning because I was self-managing these, but once I outsourced that, we haven't been back to Kansas City in multiple years. I haven't seen half these properties in these units. So it's something that you can do, from your desktop if you want to. And so the moral of the story here is, I want you guys to feed your funnel, right? Deal flow, deal flow, deal flow. That's the most important thing in the beginning is getting enough deals on your plate so that you can evaluate them, right? And kind of the point of the story here is they can come from anywhere. It can come from agents. It can come from your network. It can come from wholesalers. And a few months ago, I had a month where really these 3 deals came to my plate in 1 week, and they all came from different places. and we put them all under contract. One was direct to seller, one was from a broker, one was from a wholesaler. So again, you just never know where you're going to get your deals from. So just make sure that you have enough funneling into your funnel, just like your real estate agent leads, so that you guys can pick from the best ones and get the better deals that way. It's a numbers game. So cool. Now that you guys have your criteria, right? You have the market selected based off your criteria, you have the team built out, and now then it's all about analyzing the deal, right? So now you're gonna be sent a bunch of deals because your phone's so big. So let's analyze them, right? And what this means is it's underwriting and ensuring that it's a good deal. And one of my favorite quotes is from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett always says, you got to protect your downside. A lot of people just look at the, hey, like what it can be, but he's infamous for never losing money. And that's how he's, you know, a bajillionaire now. So protect from the downside. I always look at a deal and I say, cool, like I'll look at like what I think idealistic numbers are, but then I'll stress test it and say, well, you know, what are the numbers if there is a correction? If there's a 20% correction in the market, if there's a 10% vacancy rate that's higher than it is right now, right? And then you're basically saying, hey, cool, at the very worst situation, I'm not losing money. And that's really what you should be looking at. The other aspects and questions to ask yourself too are, does this deal get me closer to my goal, right? Is it a cash flow deal? Hey, I was going for appreciation, but it's a cash flow deal. Does that really fit? Does it really jive? No, probably doesn't. Right? So you want to make sure that it's going toward the goal that you're trying to get to. What's the best use of that property too? Right? Is it Airbnb-able? Hey, we were looking at one of my properties that we were long-term renting for years, and I did an evaluation. I was like, hey, actually, I can Airbnb this sucker and make 3 to 4 times more in rent a month. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So yeah, and then the question I always ask myself, right, is also, will I be happy I bought that property in 10 years, right? Because you got to go with the mindset that you guys are long-term investors. If you're looking to do short-term investing, go to crypto, right? But real estate, you got to look at it as a long-term investment, because no one is mad, especially in this environment where inflation is going off the roof, like with 6.8%, money supply is being pumped into the system, interest rates are low for now, and still are low, even if it's going up to 3.5%, that's not very high still, let's be real. So just understanding how to analyze a deal, right? So here's my 4 steps to analyzing deals. 1, you initially analyze it. Step 2, looks good, put the offer in. All right, cool. Now you have it under contract. Step 3, hey, you're gonna get more information during your inspection periods, during your due diligence period. And guess what? Reanalyze it again. It's still a good deal. And in step 4, hey, guess what? Analyze it again. Right? I can't tell you how many times I've run the same deal over and over again with new numbers, because things change throughout the process. Right. And I want to show you guys this. So I mean, here's our analyzer, right? So basically all I do nowadays, I plug and play. And so part of it is also speed, right? So, in this environment, as you guys know, as agents, you have to get deals fast, right? It can't be like, let me think about it for 4 or 5 more days, right? At that point, the deal is gone. If it's a deal, it's gone, right? So I even have this on my Google Sheets. I have the app downloaded. So if an agent does call me up and it's like, hey, I got a deal for you, I need to know, I can just plug it in right away and say, is this a good deal or no? And that way I can put an offer in fast or not. And speed will win you deals, and we'll lose you deals if you're not fast enough. And so I try to make it as easy as possible. Hey, boom, it's all highlighted here, where you need to fill in, right? Just say, all right, what is my cash on cash return I need? What's my IRR that I'm looking for, right? And then based off these things, this is going to be your cash flow or your equity. Is that meeting the criteria of what I'm trying to get to? If I'm trying to get to 10K a month in 5 years, right? Well, then, what do I need to get in cash flow every year with the amount of money I can invest every year to get to my point? Do I need 10%? Do I need 20% cash on cash, right? So, we could spend a whole session on just going over analyzing deals. But if when you guys book a call with me later, if you guys want to copy this, happy to send it to you guys. All right. So going over some case studies here, I just want to highlight, a couple ones here. So first is just never forgetting your first, and just having that first deal mindset that we all have. This is my little sister's property that she picked up as an Airbnb. And I want to highlight this one because as we go back to real estate being a vehicle, one of the things that I loved about real estate so far in this last couple of years is that, my sister and I, we used to be super close when we were kids, and she went to college in New York and I stayed out here in the West Coast. And so we kind of grew apart a little bit. And when she came back, she started to see, hey, all the things that we'd be doing in real estate. And she was like, hey, Calvin, I'd love to be able to learn how to do Airbnbs. And I was like, hey, funny enough, I'm actually going to Texas next month to go change one of my long-term rentals into a short-term rental. Why don't you come with? and kind of learn firsthand. And so she came with, and we were quote unquote working, right? I'm putting air quotes out there because we were working by going to Target, by going to Walmart, by going to Cost Plus World Market and picking out furniture and stuff. So we were working, but what we realized was that was the first one-on-one trip that we've ever done, ever. And we're not really working. We're just hanging out. Really, we're like, going furniture, we're picking out stuff, we're eating dinner, going to getting drinks and stuff. And it was just a really fun time. It was the first time that we really got to reconnect again. And what real estate as a vehicle does is it can bring relationships like that together. Where now she's super inspired. She actually ended up buying this property, this Airbnb property, and she's so hungry in it now. She's got the taste. She's like, I want to buy 10 more. Right. So now we've created an LLC, a company where we're going to go help and buy 10 more of these Airbnbs for her, so she can manage and run that, and so she can get out her job. So I love that because, again, bottom of my heart, I love her, right? And it's like, dude, we've been able to build something now together and co-create with each other using real estate as a vehicle. So that's and I remember her first deal mindset on this was, I remember she put the offer in and then she got accepted and she's on a flight and she's super scared. She's like, Calvin, I got accepted. I'm super pumped. I can't wait. I'll talk to you after I land. And then she lands, she's like, Calvin, I'm freaking out, right? She's like, I don't think I'm smart enough. I don't know how to do this. I'm lacking the knowledge. I have massive fear, right? And it's so funny because we all had that, right? I remember my first deal, I had the same, I laugh a lot because that was the same exact feeling that I had too, was, oh my God, like, yes, I got the deal over the contract. That's awesome. And then now we're like, holy crap, I actually have to do it now. What do I do? And so she had the same things. And, what a lot of it was coming out was fear, right? And I think we all have fear. It's a normal body emotion that we all have where, as we look at it, it's really just a defense mechanism that we all have. It's a defense mechanism that our body gave us, ever since we were all cavemen and cavewomen when there were freaking saber-tooth tigers trying to eat us, right? Our fear would kick in and say, yo, watch out, Christina, don't get eaten by that saber-tooth tiger, right? And your fight or flight comes in. But nowadays, there's no saber-tooth tigers, at least in California, maybe in Utah still, but really the fear that we all have is the fear of financial ruin. What if I buy this property and I lose all my money and they sue me and I lose everything? I don't have a roof over my head. I can't feed my kids. That's the fear I felt, at least. And so what I always tell myself are three things, right? One is, do I have the right community around me, the right people around me to inspire me and show me that, hey, a normal person just like me can do this and it has done it, right? And keep me accountable for that. Number two is, do I have the right knowledge, right? To give me the empowerment, to give me the confidence to say, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing my analyzing my deals and stuff. And I've stress tested this enough to say, even if the market takes a 10% correction, I'm good. I'm not losing money. Great. And three is, do I have the right mentors to catch me if I fall, right? We all don't know every answer, right? So having someone else look at stuff too, to say, all right, am I missing something here, right? Gives you the confidence to say, why not? Like, why, if I don't do this, and the fear that I've changed now, it's not the fear of doing deals. The fear I have now is I fear that I'm on my deathbed and I never took action. That scares the crap out of me. I can't, like, if I'm on my deathbed and said, man, I regret never doing it. That scares me more than actually doing it and failing. So we all have that, guys. And so here's another highlight that I love showing, because this is one of our students. For him, he's analyzing deals in general. He did this all the time. He would analyze 3 to 5 deals a week, right? Just to get that muscle going. And he got this deal from a property manager. The property manager called him and was like, hey, I got this deal for you, but I need to know in the next hour if you can do this deal or not, or else I have to go to the next investor because this guy needs to sell today. And so he's like, don't worry, give me 15 minutes, right? Plugged the deal analyzer in, did the numbers, said, hey, I can do this. Bought the deal, right? Within that day, bought it for $80,000. His renovation costs were $10,000, paint and floors. So he's $90K all in. Appraised the value after he did the paint and floors, $130K. He gained $50K of equity in 1 month. He refinanced it at 80% of the appraised value, right? So he got $104K back, paying back his $90K, making a $10K profit in the interim as well. And he cash flows $200, still owns the property, and his cash on cash return is infinite because now he has his original capital back and he owns the property still. And guess what? Just took him 1 month. Just 1 month. It's crazy. And now he's on his third one. So he's crushing right now. He's going over and over and over and over again now, and he has the systems dialed. So, but I want to point out, he got this deal because he was fast to act and he knew that this was a good deal. So fast, being able to go fast is huge right now, and understanding how to analyze your deal and be confident in your numbers. And for him, he was, and he got it done.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, this is actually just popped in my head. You brought David Green in for a conversation for a mastermind that we had. And one of the things that was unique that he said is somebody asked him, Dave, like, this market is on fire. It's crazy right now. How do we find deals? And he responded, he's like, you don't find deals in this market, you create deals. And so I think it's about being very aware of how can you create the opportunities that most people don't see. And also, with this, it's like speed does kill. And so, one of the big principles in the MREI, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, is that you want to be able to lock up a deal, have control of it, and then be able to analyze and figure out if it makes sense. And so I think, some of those principles are super important to be aware of, but the burst strategy is something that can help you to radically build that wealth.
Yeah, awesome. I love that, man. And that really segues me to our next step here. I promise I didn't pay him to say that. So the next step is then negotiate. Because all these markets are so hot right now, you do have to negotiate and create your own deal, right? Like David Green said to us as well. Just being able to even understand what's in your tool belt. What kind of creative financing strategies do you have to be able to pull out whenever you need to, right? In every situation, every deal is different. But a lot of people think that, oh, it's where I buy the deal is where I make the money. Yeah, sure, it's half right. But the other half is how you structure the deal is also how you can make a lot of money and how you can make a good deal great. We just bought a $2 million apartment complex. Guess how much money I'm putting down on that? I'm putting $0 down in that deal, right? And we're gonna be able to burr that one in a little bit, but it's because we know like the different tools that we pulled out on that one. That took 4 months of negotiation, sure, but I knew exactly what levers we could pull: seller financing, commercial bridge loan, private money, right? That no money was actually put in our own. And we're gonna own that property here in 12 months, free and clear. So negotiating that, right? Negotiating, and what that could also mean is just understanding why the seller is selling. You guys probably know that as agents, death, divorce, job relocation, upgrading, downsizing, family. Like, what levers can I pull to make this deal work? So not only on just creative financing, but also just understanding and negotiating based off what you know. So, leverage, right? Always find out why they are selling. Right, so we have a deal closing next month, like 31 unit in Tennessee, and she's selling. So actually, I love the story because they had asked for 2.4 million on it. I offered them 2.22 million on it back in like September, and they said no right away. Right? Nope, pound sand. And I was like, all right, fine, next deal. And in November, they called me up and they're like, hey, can you close this year? And I was like, I can, at the right price. Why? And they're like, well, she's 92 years old. She needs to sell this year. It was also when like Biden was talking about increasing cap gains like 5%, right? So her swing on that would be like $150,000. So she's like, all right, like I'll sell it this year. I won't take that hit. I'll be able to save $150,000. So I was like, yeah, cool. I can do it for 2.1. That's my new number. That's all I'm going to. And they're like, okay, done. Right. And so knowing that she needed to do this before the end of the year gave me the leverage to say, cool, I'm not giving you 2.4, but I'll give you 2.1. Some tips and tricks I've always found too is never give the number first, right? So always have them give it, what would you sell it for? And also don't be afraid to walk away from the deal, right? Don't get emotionally attached. You're not going to live here. It's an investment. So don't be afraid to walk away from the deal. You'll always be able to find another one. Don't worry about that. And so another case study here is, one of our first bursts here is, I had a long time relationship with an agent out here, and she called me up and said, hey, I have this pocket listing. Actually, it's off market right now. A friend of mine basically just got this listing, and are you down to buy this? And they had listed this for 110K. And I do the math. I'm actually at my sister's I think it was her engagement party or something like that. And I'm like on my phone, like on the side, just real quick, like just plugging numbers in. And I'm like, all right, I can do 90K. And so I found out, I was like, all right, well, why are they selling? Well, it's an older gentleman, expat, and he just, he wants to move out into the country, and he needs his money to buy a new house. So got under contract for 90K. negotiations, where that comes in. Well, we found during inspections that there were, air quotes, huge plumbing issues, right? And I put air quotes out there because I knew there was only probably like a $3,000 issue, and I made it seem like it was a $30,000 issue. So I used that to negotiate the price. I was like, oh my God, like $30,000 to replumb the whole house. This is gonna be crazy. Like, I can't spend that kind of money. Like, this deal is not gonna work. Because I knew that the seller had already mentally spent the money. He already had offers, and I think he was in escrow on his property in the country. So he knew he needed this house to close for him to be able to move out there. So knowing his why was huge. So then I was like, hey, it's going to take $30,000 to negotiate or to replumb the house. And I need to do this to be able to close. So you got to give me this deal for 72K. So that's what they said. They're like, cool. Well, fine, we'll do it for 72K. And then during the rehab, oh man, this is not all rainbows and butterflies for sure. The first contractor here went missing. So 2 weeks in or 2 months into the project, he starts responding to my calls and texts and emails. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And I find out he sent me an email 2 weeks later. He's like, hey, Cal, I'm so sorry. I got deported to Mexico. And I was like, time out. You're not an American citizen? Like, you're telling me stories about you going to high school here. Like, what the heck, man? And so having your systems in place to protect yourself are huge here, because I didn't lose any money on this one, because what I did was I had contracts in place where I was releasing money at certain draw schedules. I owned all the material. So he didn't own any of the material. I was just paying for labor. So I actually didn't lose any money, but what I did was I lost time. I had to go ahead and hire my second contractor of choice and wait for that person to start. And that probably cost me a month or two. But at the end of the day, like, having those systems in place can protect you in the long run, right, of actually hard dollars. And so the numbers on this one, yeah, we bought this one for 72.5 cash, cost us about 25K to rehab. So we're 97K all in on this one. We refinanced it at 75% of the new value, which was 155K. So we were able to pull out 116K, right? Paying back the 97K from my own money I put in the original capital. And I rented it out for $1,200. It was cash flowing about $150 a month, not much. But I owned this cash flowing asset that was going to continue to grow and grow. And I was able to recycle the money and do it again. So being able to negotiate that helped make this deal work, because if I bought it at 90K, this deal wouldn't have worked. I mean, it would have been an okay deal, but this is what made it a great deal. Which then brings me to step 7, was evaluating and tracking your portfolio. Remember, guys, knowledge is power, right? Knowing how your property is performing is power, right? Having data-driven decisions is power, right? I think a lot of people get stuck in this trap of, oh yeah, I just want to go buy my first property. And they buy their first property, like, oh my God, I'm a real estate investor now. Awesome. But they forget that you also have to manage your portfolio, just like you manage your business. You guys are all real estate agents, I think, for the most part. I'm sure you guys look at your numbers every month and say, all right, well, how do we do? What was our P&Ls? Was I spending too much on marketing or not? And same thing here. It's like, look at your P&Ls. Make sure that you understand like what you're spending your money on and what you're not. And if you're actually performing the way you're underwriting it to be. What's my return on equity, right? Because as your property is growing in value, your cash on cash return might go down because there might be a better use of that equity somewhere else. So just knowing what those numbers are so important. Right? So tracking it, profit and loss, tracking reports, looking at your bank statements, are they even depositing money? I can't tell you how many times that I've heard horror stories about people, property managers stealing money from people because they can, because no one looks at reports. Look at your reports, right? Hire a bookkeeper, whatever it is. Look at your return on equity, right? Which is just your cash flow divided by the equity versus the cash flow divided by your down payment and the money you have in the deal. But the difference of being able to use your money more aggressively and being able to scale faster. And so, I mean, example of that same property I was just telling you guys about of the bird that we just did there. Yeah, cash for $150. And one thing that I hated was that, man, I did all that work and it's only cash me $150. It sucks. So my annual cash is about $1,800, which is not very much, right? It's not something that you can retire on by any means. What I did find out was that my current value was about 180K at the time. And I had 64K of equity that I could use. So my return on equity was terrible. It was 2.9%. That's not very good because I had a lot of equity still stuck in the property. So evaluating that with the numbers, I found out if I refinance it at the new value of 180K and I pull out 20K and I reinvested it back in the property in terms of furniture, in terms of landscaping, in terms of bathroom and cosmetics, then how much more can I get on Airbnb? All right, well, actually the analysis was $1,200 was what I got for current rents, but I actually could get $4,000 a month if I Airbnb'd it. All right, so then I did that. So I took the 20K out, I put it back into the property, and guess what? Now the cash flows or gross is $4,000 a month, right? So I basically increased my cash flow by 3x on that one. So I increased to $3,000 more a month, right? So my return on investment on that 20K is 194% at that point, right? So now you're using our assets to buy more assets and to generate more cash flow. So that's the 7-step process, guys. And I want to make sure that I'm going to give you guys a bonus here. One thing that we've learned across the way is go big as fast as you can, right? This is not a get rich quick plan, but it's a get rich for sure. It's a marathon, right? There's going to be a snowball effect of momentum, a snowball effect of money, right? And assets that's going to have your assets buy more assets. Here was my first property that I bought in Dallas. At the time, it was cash from about $100 a month, but when I sold it, I had 95K of equity in it, and so I 1031 exchanged it into an apartment complex. Now, apartment complex now generates $3,700 a month of cash flow. And we just got an offer on it yesterday. I bought this about a year ago that was for 1.77. And I was at 640K growth of equity in 1 year, right? 1 year. All right. And now, and all that original capital was from this property I bought 5-6 years ago for like 40 grand down or 30 grand down. Bought this, right? So that 30 grand down made over 640K of equity over these years. So that's the power of going big faster as well. But also planting seeds to get there too. So guys, I want to end up with just imagine what's possible, guys, for you guys. Just imagine, reaching your mailbox and picking up whatever check amount that is to get you to your financial freedom number so that you can spend the time with who you want, doing what you want, whenever you want. And one of my favorite pictures here is this is Jenny actually talking to Tony Robbins. We were at his business mastery event. It was virtual because of COVID. So it was actually our living room, but Jenny got picked to talk to Tony. And one of the things that he says is, in moments of decision, destiny is shaped. The worst thing that you can do after a session like this is do nothing, right? And honestly, that hurts me too, because I know I'm pouring out 120% to you guys, and I want you guys to go out and actually go take action. You guys already invested the time today, right? So ensure that you do that one thing and just gain momentum. Do that one thing that's going to get you to that next step, right? It doesn't have to be getting 10K a month tomorrow, but hey, maybe it's, let me go out and think about what my why is. Let me go out and have a call with Calvin, right? To understand what my goals are, right? So make sure the only thing that I ask from this session today, guys, is don't take inaction, take action. Right? Go do something. And so what's next for you guys is, I know I promised at the beginning that I'd take a minute to share what we can do to support. So, what we do at Zen Coach University, which is our coaching program, is help you learn how to use real estate as a vehicle to be able to get your time back and your energy back to spend it with who you want, doing what you want, right? So really 3 ways I would look at it. One is we help you create that roadmap. We give you the tools, the process, the strategies, more of the how to invest in real estate the right way. Not just go ahead and any one of you guys can go buy real estate tomorrow, but can you guys buy it the right way? Can you guys analyze the deals the right way? Can you guys know what's in your tool belt so that any deal that you look at, you can put creative terms in there to make that deal great? That's number one. Number two is we're going to surround you guys with like-minded people to keep you accountable, right? And to grow your network, because you never know, again, who's going to be that person that's going to be across the table that says, hey, I'm going to wire you 140K and save your butt. Or three is going to help you build that mindset, right? This is the most important piece of real estate. So we want you guys to feel empowered, to have the confidence and not have that fear or limiting belief that I can't do this, so that you guys can go out and take massive action. So that if your kid asks you in the morning, if you can drive them to school, you don't have to say I have to work. You can say, hey, absolutely, hit shotgun, right? So yeah, we keep our community pretty small. So I think we only let in a handful of people every quarter. But if this sounds like something that may be a fit for you guys, we're happy to take a call with you guys to see if there's a mutual fit, right? So I have a QR code here, which gives you to an application to book a call with me. Or you can just visit our website at zencoachuniversity.com. That's a great way to get in contact with us. But I'll leave you guys with that, guys. Make sure that we don't leave this call, we're not doing anything. Take some kind of action, whether how small or how big it is.
And I want to encourage everybody to just really double down on being a student of real estate investing. I think that's probably one of the most important keys, is just, if you really want to build wealth through real estate, is you have to be a student of the game first. And just commit to mastery of like making sure that you're doing the repetition, you're putting yourself around other people who are investing consistently. It's like the conversations are different in those circles. And so find your tribe, find the people that are going to help you to really focus on your investment goals. And that's going to be one of the greatest, moves or action steps that you can take.
And feedback I was showing you said, like, yeah, get good, build that habit, build that muscle over and over and over again, because that's really where, yeah, your first deal might not be a home run, but that's when you're going to be able to build a muscle toward having those home run deals in the future, right? And building that portfolio. Because I know every single one of you guys wouldn't be on this call if you guys wanted to buy 1 or 2 deals. Like, you want to buy enough in your portfolio to be able to live off it, like a lot of people do. So I encourage you guys, and I'm happy to have a call with each and every single one of you guys, just to get to know you guys better and connect with you guys to see how we can help. Because at the end of the day, it's about people helping people. It's about human beings being human beings and up-leveling each other. I truly believe that to my soul and to my core. And hopefully, I'll get to talk to each and every single one of you guys as well to kind of see, how we can support. So thank you for being, great listeners, and we'll see you guys soon.